This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 28.
Welcome to the show that focuses on helping real estate agents build a bulletproof business plan so that they can sell more properties in less time and live a more fulfilled life.
Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan to help you get there? Well, then you're definitely in the right place. Hey, I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. And to help you take immediate action to build a better real estate agent business, I've created a free jumpstart course. It's good for veterans and rookies, whatever you might be, over at freeagentgift.com. So let's get started here today. In this episode, I want to cover what happens when we cheat to comfortable. And to give you a little bit of a context here, on our regular weekly sales training inside of our TRC coaching group, I had a big team up in Ottawa, Canada, that really wanted to pursue the answer to why do so many people just not show up to an appointment? Why could you get an inside sales effort going and somebody would actually say, sure, let's meet at X time, and then either just no show altogether. And of course, when it comes to going to somebody's house, they have to call up and cancel, and they might just leave you a message at off hours and then go dark on you, quote unquote. And that was one of the scenarios. And the other one was just simply that the folks just call back and they were busy, it turns out. But I want to break down what I learned from going through both of these calls and then what I was able to share with the team up there on how to affect a better outcome. And it was really interesting because the two gentlemen that were in the hot seat as inside sales agents had very different styles. One was very direct and the other one was much more passive and took his time. So I call it the Goldilocks syndrome, right? We're always looking for which bed is just right to sleep in when it comes to our business. So you have those that are too hard and then you have those that are too soft, and you're looking for this place in the middle. But again, that brings into all sorts of questions about stylistically, are we having people change it? No, and no. So let me get into this first point here. Number one point that I brought up to them was how the source of the business affects our thinking. So I always ask strategically, what was the source of the business? Because I don't think enough of us take a beat to understand context of the consumer. And I know that's a buzzword, context, but it's been around forever and it means something really important. Is why are we here together on the phone? How did this birth? I call it the genesis, right? What is the genesis of this lead or this conversation? What's happening here? Where did they come from? So is this an online lead that was interested in their online home evaluation? Well, that's very different from some seller who's been referred to you by somebody who already knows, likes, and trusts you because they did business with you. That's an extremely different scenario to start off in. And you need to be connected to that because it's almost like you have to reestablish your own thinking. Not almost like, you definitely have to reestablish your own thinking about the source of the business. Now, yes, of course, I'm going to teach you that I believe, strategically speaking, there is a course of action to follow for sellers and buyers, and that is universal and strategic for all of us real estate agents. But the context that gets layered on top of that as to how this person arrives to us is everything. Because it's their individualism that brings in this variable to us every single time. That human consumer issue that started them into this whole funnel or process is all about them. So how they birth themselves into your world really matters to you if you want to make that connection. So my first suggestion, the first point here to them was, look, take a beat and understand the genesis. And by the way, those that were managing these folks, they needed with me to go even further back into the marketing and question the quality of the acquisition of this conversation for this inside salesperson. So I had this team here and I wanted you to know I held them all responsible to genesis of the conversation. How did it begin? Obviously, most of the time that starts with some sort of marketing. Either we're marketing to our past client sphere of influence. You say that, right? Sphere of influence. We might just get people either way or any way. Who cares the way they come in? But it does matter to an extreme level that we take a beat and consider it. Okay. So this is precisely why we let up, point B, why we let up on a strategic approach. Right? So A was how the source of the business really affects our thinking, because now we look at that and we say, hey, you know what? This is referred. I can B, let up on my strategic approach because that's Kevin's friend and Kevin loves us and he sent this person over. So I'll just have this casual conversation. And in the first case, the gentleman just went straight to asking the questions. Okay, so is it a 3-bedroom? Is it a 2-bath? Do you have a 2-car garage? Is it finished? And I was getting tired listening to it because, first of all, the context was he caught the guy in a car and he was talking to the guy in a car and it was hard to hear. And it was just like this sort of pounding. Now, to give full credit where credit's due, he did circle back and start to go back into why are you doing this? But by this point in time, the rhythm, the tennis match, and I referred to it as a volley, was gone. Now it was almost like, I just caught myself being a little bit strategically lazy because I'm comfortable based on the source of this. And because somebody from my team has presumably spoken to them before, now I'm all out of order, right? Everything's out of order. And so now I've got to go back and make this up. And by that time, you could just hear the gentleman on the other side was tired of the conversation and probably even a little bit confused. And of course, when you confuse, you lose. Now, one of the things that the rest of the group was helping him with was, it also rolls into this next point here. When you're not following a strategy, you sound very selfish. Now, again, remember, we're this group of agents probably over detailing every piece of this so that we can get better. I'm not saying that the consumer necessarily feels like this gentleman or any of us are being selfish, but we are. Because if you sit back and you listen to this, the minute he left the strategic order of things, the approach, and this guy's an excellent inside sales agent. This was much more not about him being a great strategist. It was much more about how easily we get sucked into this comfort zone where everything goes awry strategically. So as he strayed away from it, it sounded very selfish. Here's why. If you put the first questions in place, and why are you making a move? What's motivating you? When do you need to be there? Are you worried about anything? Going really into that first big, deep why really is about the consumer. So you're making clear, again, I know you want what you want. You want a now appointment, of course, all the time, anytime you can get one. Well, that's a blue moon event, as we know, especially with internet leads on the first call. Unless, of course, you can cut to the chase and you can make them feel really safe. That by telling you their why and going a little bit deeper and what their concerns about it, then you can get into a more strategic discussion about what happens next. If that's flip-flopped, they just feel, and they might not even be able to articulate it, but that you're almost on them. You're on them too hard. Well, sure, it makes sense to this guy that you're asking all these questions and you're getting this feedback. It does show a level of professionalism that you're preparing for something that you're going to get together, but you're losing the humanity here. You're not really asking why. Does this guy have kids? Is there a timing with school? Is this somebody who's lost a spouse, lost a partner? Something's happened here. What's going on here? Right? You're not taking that beat first to humanize it. So the strategy sounds almost too abrupt. And this is where a lot of you get confused with what I'm trying to teach you. I am a human being first, and I do this business because there's a huge human element to it, right? And that rolls us into the fourth point here today, letter number D on my list here. Why reconnecting to the humanistic approach of a true concierge actually brings you more of what you want. So let me get down into this a little bit. So when things are out of order strategically, which I believe is the foundation for every single time you do anything when it comes to inside or outside sales, stay strategic. What are your 7 points for the sellers? What are your 6 points for the buyers? And I reference those as TRC frameworks that we offer you, and make sure that you understand that's a great foundation, which allows you to do you. Right? One of the pushbacks during this training call was, well, I've been doing this for a long time and it works for me. That's what I said. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't get defensive. Yes, all of you are really good at something as human beings who exist in the world when it comes to conversing with people back and forth. Let's check the box. I give you all full credit for being good. But this is not about being good. This is about getting better all the time. There is no such thing as best. You're always getting better because things are changing. There's variables that come at you all the time. But the big point here today is that as you get better, the double-edged sword of that is you get comfortable and you fall into an overconfident regimen where you leave strategy. Oh, I'm already good at that. I hear that all the time from coaching me. Oh, yeah, I don't need any coaching or training. I'm already good at this, right? Oh, my gosh. If I ever talk like that on a podcast or anywhere else, put a blow dart in the back of my neck, okay, so I go to sleep and wake up humble again. It is the most dangerous place that we end up going. Always be learning. So reconnecting to the humanistic approach first. And I'm not saying be too squishy in that opening, because a lot of people, especially up here in the ugly Northeast where we're all mean to each other, there's no doubt about it. We have an edge up here. You'll get cut off quickly if you don't cut to the chase. So I'm not going to say that geographically the pace is the same, but I am saying that beat. Why are you moving? Hey, I saw that you came into our website and I was hoping that everything was working fine for you and that you actually got the online evaluation. Was there a reason you were asking for it? How come you're thinking about moving? Sounds like a great house. You sure you want to sell it? Not being afraid to go there. That's the way you talk to your friend or somebody who was in your family that you loved and you cared about and you truly were trying to help. You wouldn't be rushing down. Oh, whoa. What does it have? 2-car garage? And does it? That's all about you. And that's what I mean. Comfort leads to this selfish tone, even though it's at a subconscious level. I know you're not trying to do it, but you are. Listen to your own recordings and you'll see it when you cheat. So why connecting to a humanistic approach matters is because it allows you to start by seeing the human or listening to the human every time. And I actually suggest to a lot of our coaching members, put a little yellow sticky next to the phone or put it in your car before you walk into the house or show the properties that says, this is about them. This process is about them. Who? The consumer. The person I'm meeting that I know a little bit. I know a lot. I don't know it all. They're all the same. It is about them and you are there to truly serve them. Just take that beat and bring that paradigm strongly to the forefront of your consciousness and you'll be amazed at how that resourcefulness of that paradigm thinking comes to help you just be so much better at this. And you know what? You might even not know us. Well, I did it, but I did the same thing I always did. Yeah, not really. Because the minute we think it's about them, something in us changes and it calls upon all the resourcefulness at the subconscious level where we just come across as much more of a concierge. So keep that in mind. Okay. So let's go back and hit these bullet points. Number 1, how the source of the business affects our thinking. You need to take that beat and understand where your danger zone is. For example, if it's a comfortable referral, that's especially where you ought to pay attention to this whole paradigm thought of it's about them and I need to give them my strategy. And that leads to point B. Why we let up on the strategic approach is because we get comfortable with the context. It's the easy one. Oh, I love these leads. They're so much easier, right? That's a dangerous spot. And we let up because we're comfortable. C, why not following the strategy is actually bringing you to a selfish place. You just flat out sound more selfish when you don't start by considering the human and you just rush even to the strategic hardcore stuff that is teaching them or moving them along the ladder. It's just about our process that we want to rush through this. And D was why reconnecting to the humanistic approach of a true concierge brings you more of what you want. There's just no doubt about it in business that will bring, that honey will bring you many more real trusting prospects who become long life clients. Okay. So chunking up the key point, treat all consumers with the highest level of service to avoid being the problem. And remember, of course, you can take immediate action and get started in the right direction with these types of strategies with our free video course, which is located over at freeagentgift.com. realty.com. And of course, if you like what you've learned here, then we'd really appreciate it if you would share these insights with other entrepreneurially spirited real estate agents just like you so that they can find their way over here to join us. Share, please. I'd appreciate it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe or follow us on whichever platform you're listening, and a positive review is always appreciated. We also broadcast our live sales training that I just referenced in this podcast on Facebook every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So if you remember to like our page, you won't miss the notifications. Hey, thanks for listening, and we look forward to helping you in the next episode.
You've been listening to The Realty Classroom with Danny Griffin. Join us next time to continue learning how to build a smarter real estate agent business plan that helps you live a more fulfilled life.